007 First Light is exactly what Mozart warned us about over 200 years ago. This might sound like a ridiculous comparison, but hear me out. For over a decade, James Bond games felt dead. Every attempt to bring the legendary spy back into gaming either felt cheap, forgettable, or completely misunderstood what James Bond was supposed to be. Many of the games chased explosions and copied Call of Duty, while some forgot about the charm, espionage, and the fact that James Bond isn't an action hero. He is a villain. The confidence, danger, and elegance, followed by the tension of walking into a room and knowing everyone there could kill you. Or was it the thrill of surviving with nothing but intelligence, charisma, and instinct? For years, developers kept trying to recreate Bond, but none of them truly understood him. Up until now. And somehow, against all odds, after years of silence and failed adaptations, IO Interactive delivers something nobody even expected. Not just a good James Bond game, but potentially the greatest Bond game ever made. And what makes this story even more emotional is that 007 First Light didn't succeed because it tried to modernize Bond. It succeeded because it finally remembered who James Bond actually is. You see, many people might say, well, this is just another game, but you have to understand just how impossible this game was. The James Bond games have carried a curse for years. After the legendary success of GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64, the franchise never truly recovered. Sure, there were decent attempts here and there. Everything or Nothing had style, Nightfire had charm, Bloodstone had potential, but none of them managed to evolve Bond into something more than timeless. And then came the dark years. The game started feeling rushed or tried too hard to imitate military shooters or abandoned espionage completely. But by the time 007 Legends released, it really felt like Bond gaming had lost its identity entirely. And years passed, entire consoles came and went, and slowly but surely, people stopped believing that a great Bond game was even possible anymore. Because the gaming industry had really changed. Modern players expected cinematic storytelling, advanced AI, massive immersion, strong writing, fluid gameplay, emotional performances. All of this made sure that making a good shooter wasn't enough anymore. To make a great Bond game, you needed to capture sophistication, stealth, tension, luxury, violence, and charm. And not to forget emotional vulnerability, a balance that seemed almost impossible these days. And that's why when IO Interactive announced Project 007 years ago, people were excited and skeptic because expectations were enormous. This wasn't just another licensed game or movie franchise slop. This was the return of a James Bond game. But the edge IO Interactive had was that they already understood one major part of Bond, the fantasy. You see, the Hitman games had already proven that IO Interactive understood infiltration, social stealth, and cinematic assassinations. The DNA was already there, but the real question was, could they transform that cold, emotionless assassin design philosophy into something human? Could they create a Bond that felt vulnerable, reckless, young, and dangerous? The smartest decision 007 First Light made was not giving us the James Bond we already knew. Instead of the polished super spy, they gave us a Bond that still had something to prove, a chip on his shoulder if you will. A reckless 26-year-old recruit trying to earn the 007 title. You see, when Bond gets into a fight, it feels messy, desperate, and violent. Even when he infiltrates an enemy base, you can feel the pressure because he is not a legend yet. He is in the process of becoming one. This really was a genius move because most Bond stories show us the myth, but 007 First Light shows us behind the scenes of becoming the myth. That emotional angle is what separates this game from every failed Bond adaptation before it. The older games focus too much on spectacle, but 007 First Light focuses on identity. Who is James Bond before the tuxedos become iconic, before the confidence becomes unshakable, or before the world fears him? These questions gave the story more depth, and people feel that while playing the game. You are not just controlling a Bond, you are going with him on a journey as he evolves. Every mission feels like another piece of the legend being built in real time. IO Interactive didn't just make him younger, they made him believable. This Bond isn't afraid to get angry, he gets impulsive, improvises, and survives by instinct, which creates tension in every encounter. Unlike the older Bond games where the player always feels invincible, here you sometimes feel barely in control, and that unpredictability makes the game thrilling. Now this is where 007 First Light becomes special because it understands James Bond isn't cool because he wins fights, but how he moves through the world, the confidence, social manipulation, and the swagger. First Light absolutely nails this to a fault. This isn't just a game about shooting people, it is about infiltration, observation, reading rooms, blending into conversation, and manipulating situations. The game constantly makes you feel like a spy and not a soldier. Even the environments feel like they were crafted around the Bond fantasy. Luxurious casinos, high security facilities, foreign cities glowing with neon lights, markets filled with tension, and private parties where every conversation feels dangerous. Every location feels cinematic, and the gameplay supports this fantasy. You can sneak through areas quietly, talk your way through situations, use your gadgets, create distractions, or go loud when everything falls apart. That flexibility makes players feel intelligent, and intelligent gameplay is exactly what the Bond game needed. For many years, game devs treated Bond like a generic action hero, but IO Interactive treated him like the smartest man in the room. And this is why 007 First Light feels authentic. Even the pacing reflects the classic Bond films, from the moments of silence to tension, followed by emotional vulnerability before massive action sequences. It flows like an actual Bond movie, not just another third-person shooter that looks like Uncharted pretending to wear a tuxedo. One thing almost everybody agrees on is that the game feels expensive. Not just graphically, I mean emotionally. From every cutscene to the camera angles, everything feels deliberate. Every transition feels smooth. The presentation constantly reminds you that this isn't just another random licensed game. This is a studio trying to build a definitive Bond experience. The opening alone immediately tells players that the serious business is about to start. From the darker atmosphere to the performances, everything screams confidence. And then there is the acting. Patrick Gibson's younger Bond walks shockingly well. #FreakHire. He doesn't imitate older Bond actors. He creates a version of Bond that feels human, arrogant, and sometimes reckless, but charming. And somehow, he always makes everything believable. You see, that balance is incredibly hard to pull off, and honestly, this might be one of the strongest performances we have ever seen in a Bond game. Even the supporting cast helps sell the immersion. Nobody feels like a cardboard filler, and because the performances are so strong, players become emotionally invested in the story and the world. That emotional connection is one of the biggest reasons this game has exploded positively online. This is probably the biggest reason people trusted IO Interactive with Bond in the first place, the Hitman DNA. And thankfully, 007 First Light doesn't just ignore it, it evolves it. Instead of making Bond a silent killing machine like Agent 47, they redesigned the formula around improvisation and momentum, which is brilliant because Bond and 47 are fundamentally different characters. Agent 47 is emotionless precision, while Bond on the other hand is controlled chaos. So whenever a mission goes wrong in 007 First Light, the game doesn't punish you for adapting, it embraces it. It allows you to recover, fight, escape, and improvise. This level of freedom creates cinematic gameplay moments constantly. A stealth mission can suddenly turn into a brutal fistfight or a chase sequence. Everything flows naturally and seamlessly. That flexibility makes players feel like they are starring in their own Bond film. And even the gadgets aren't left out, they do not feel like an afterthought. 007 First Light remembers gadgets are supposed to be fun. Hacking watches, spy tools, distractions, and advanced infiltration tech. They make everything subtle and not overpowered nonsense. Just clever tools that enhance creativity. And because the systems interact so well together, players constantly discover new ways to approach situations, which adds a lot of replayability. Players will be experimenting, replaying, and testing new approaches. This is exactly among the many reasons why the community response has been so positive. Let me be honest, I don't think people love 007 First Light just because it is technically impressive. I really think people love it because it restored hope. I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. Modern gaming has disappointed players over and over again. Soulless live services games, broken launches, and if we're being specific, licensed games especially have a terrible reputation, and people have naturally come to expect disappointment from licensed games. So when the studio finally releases something polished, confident, passionate, and genuinely crafted with love, players can tell immediately, and this is exactly what happened with 007 First Light. IO Interactive clearly respected James Bond, not just as an IP, but as a cultural icon. You can feel the passion in the dialogues, the environments, the storytelling. Nothing feels lazy at all. Even the decision to delay the game for more polish earned players respect because people could tell the developers actually cared about the quality. Players are actually tired of games being designed like products, and 007 First Light feels designed like an experience. You can tell that there is a lot of emotional sincerity, and quite frankly, a lot of people have missed this feeling. The feeling of playing something crafted with love and care. This game had every reason to actually fail because the pressure was enormous. Reviving a Bond game after more than a decade of disappointment, that almost sounds impossible. But now, people were talking about sequels, spin-offs, a Bond gaming universe, and future trilogies. This is how dramatically First Light has changed the conversation. For years, James Bond games felt like relics from another era, but now they suddenly feel exciting again. And honestly, IO Interactive might be the perfect studio for this franchise because they understand restraints. They know tension is far more important than noise. They understand that Bond should feel dangerous even when he isn't firing a weapon. And that understanding is what separates this game from every failed attempt before it. 007 First Light succeeds because it remembers something the industry has forgotten. James Bond was never supposed to be just another shooter protagonist or super soldier, walking explosion, or a generic action hero. He is supposed to be a spy, a dangerous, intelligent, and charismatic man surviving impossible situations through instinct and confidence. And for the first time in years, a game finally captured all of this feeling. Not perfectly, but authentically. And honestly, that authenticity is why people are emotional about this game. Because after years of disappointments, failed adaptations, years of silence, players finally got something that respected the James Bond fantasy. 007 First Light didn't just revive James Bond gaming, it reminded people why they fell in love with James Bond in the first place. But hey, that's just me. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. What did you love about 007 First Light? Did you like the approach it took? Did you like the third person over the shoulder, high fidelity graphics approach IO Interactive took to this game? Or did you hate everything about this game? Did it feel woke for you, or was it doom and gloom for you? Let me know everything, all your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll be waiting for you guys down there. Please, if you enjoyed this video, kindly hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell icon so you can get notified when I upload videos like this, as I am trying to hit 1K subscribers by the end of this year. And until next time, peace and love.
Incredible.